Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. To the YouTube viewers, this will also be out there. It's going to be for the weekly outlook. Again, let me remind you that most of the forecast that you will be getting in this video might change by the end of today, end of tomorrow, or end of the week in terms of the specific trade we're taking or in terms of even the direction, right? And again, like I said, I had some time over the weekend and I was watching, and I remember watching one trader actually shouting at the chart 3 times, that reminding everybody that he's very, 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 very bullish on this and nobody should be go bearish. And then the dollar index drop, and his next video, the next video is now he's very, 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 very bullish. And he's very, very bearish and nobody should be bullish. And that's kind of the nonsense that's out there. You can't be bullish and bearish because those are terminologies that will mislead you. You don't hear me use them very often. I may once in a while use it, but you should not, because then what you do, any trading setup, think of investors, they're not bullish and bearish regardless of what they let you know. They look at the market not from a bullish and bearish point of view, from a point of view of an instrument of how you can make money. And that's how you should look at it. If there is a sell setup, you sell. If there's a buy setup, you buy. Right? Warren Buffett doesn't come and say, well, I'm bullish on I don't know, Coca-Cola. But if everything he's looking at, whatever he looks at, fundamentals or whatever, tells him Coca-Cola is going to collapse, he'll be the first to bail out with all his stocks. The minute he sees that, he's going to bail out the next day, if not the next minute, bail out and selling off all his stocks, because that's a collapse coming, and he's not going to say, well, I'm bullish, I'll stay bullish at it, right? He's not going to shout at it 3 times and say, well, I'm bullish, that's your problem, right? I think all of you remember when Elon Musk bought the Bitcoin and then sold Bitcoin. Right? Pretty much that's what they do. That's how they make money. They just look at it as instruments to make money. Everything they do is instruments to make money. Regardless of what they may want to let you believe, you have to understand that the entire market is about making money. That's all. Big traders, small traders, medium traders, it's all about going there to make money. And it's not a fact that if you make somebody lose. I think that's another misconception, that the big guys are making and the little guys are losing. Well, they don't depend on our money to make money. I mean, if Warren Buffett was depending on us buying a stock or selling a stock for him to make money, he'll probably go bankrupt by now. That's not the concept. That's a misconcept. These crazy stuff that share, right? Most Forex traders are not even buying or selling a stock. So just know you're not doing that. You're not actually involved in the market. You're involved in speculating in the market. It's like watching a horse race and betting. Your bet does not determine whether the horse wins or loses. It's not the amount of bet you place that makes it wins or lose, right? You're just betting and you're hoping that your horse wins. Your bet doesn't make the win happen, right? Think of it that way. You're betting on the price of any given instrument. Dollar, yen, dollar against yen, yen against euro, whatever it is, you're betting like a horse race. That's what you're literally doing. You're not buying yen or selling yen. There's nothing like euro yen to buy. You can't walk in the bank and say, I would like to buy 1,000 euro yen. They'll probably look at you as if you're crazy. And they'll rightfully do that. You either buy 1,000 yen or 1,000 euro. There's no 1,000 euro yen. And that alone should make you know you're not participating in the market. You're just speculating in the market. So please, people, I know there's a million videos out there telling you the opposite of what I'm saying, but this thing is about knowledge. It's not about, it's not about crazy stuff. Please follow what I do. And when I tell you that these can change, it means they can change. And that is why we do it live 5 times a day. And sometimes my traders are in there more than 5 times. They're there before me. And when I leave the room, they're still there trading because they work in all time zones. So when I give you a forecast, take it with a grain of salt that if I tell you it could change, it could change. And not because I'm trying to guess my way, whether it's right, because we understand how structure behaves. Now, if we're in the trade and it's changing, we have strategies how to exit. We have rules how we're going to exit it. Right? We have rules how to exit the trade if it's not going our way. You might not have those rules, or you might have your own. That's good if you do. But if you don't, then a trade that we said is a sell, like right now I'm looking at a silver, I'll tell you that's a sell. But then where do you sell it? What's your exit point? What would you do if it's not going your way? All of those things I don't give here. I just give you my bare analysis. If you want all of that, join us. Join us in the live sessions. You can join us for twice daily if you want. And then you'll probably see how we do it. So with that, I'm going to go. If you want to join, send me a Skype message. And it's in It's in the description. Let's go. Let's start with dollar index. So dollar index, it dropped through the bottom. And if you watch my video that I posted over the weekend, I explained in very details that this by itself doesn't mean anything. It's irrelevant. The lines are irrelevant. Everything in the chart that you draw on the chart or you put in the chart, 2 moving averages, 10, whatever you want to put, are irrelevant to the market. Those are just helping aids for you to give you an idea what it's going to do. So when we're looking at a flat, we're looking at an idea that a flat normally stays within a flat pattern. Can it break the low and go back up? Absolutely. Can it break the low, correct, and drop? Absolutely. Does this even mean that it's going down? No, that also would not mean it's going down. Right? But would we sell it if we see a correction? Absolutely. If we get a buy setup, will we take it? You can bet on that. Right? Right now, if I get a flag here, there might have been a smaller flag. Some of my traders are in from the Asian session already. But if I get a flag, if this doesn't make a flag, we will be buying. And that is what we'll be looking for today. Now, does this flag mean it's going to go up? Well, there was a flag here. And there was a flag here. But that means if we see the reversal, and in this case, this was in the news, we weren't in that trade. All the trades we were in were closed before the news. So the same thing here, we will take this trade. And if there's any reason why the chart is not moving anymore that we looked at based on the analysis we do and based on the method we use, we will be out of that trade. Now, you might get in the trade because you see me making an argument that that's a buy. And if you don't have the same rules and the same method of getting out, you might still be stuck in the trade. So be careful. Look at the analysis to aid what you're doing if you're doing something that makes sense. If you don't know what you're doing, and most of the time if you're failing, you don't know what you're doing. That's the main reason for failing. Lack of knowledge of what's happening in the market. Not so much your emotions. Your emotions is a reaction to the lack of knowledge. People might tell you you're failing because of emotions, but you're failing because of the lack of knowledge. And then because you don't know, you get emotional. The emotions is a result of the lack of knowledge and not the other way around. So please, if you don't have the knowledge to trade, don't trade. That's just simple. If you don't know how this thing is working and what you should do, when you should enter, don't trade live. Either learn on your own or find somebody to help you. So let's go. Dollar index. We're looking for a flag. We're looking for a buy. If you watch that video, you know that I think both possibilities are still open. A lot of charts tell us that it both open. Silver is already coming down. That would have been a sell. If you're trading the Asian session, you should be in that sell already. If you're not trading the Asian session, now you have to wait for a flag because this sharp move here that happened could be the equivalent of this. So you probably would have taken this and hope that it drops to this level and then get to break even, which is if it's here now, you put that to break even. Not in the first pullback. My traders know that you'll probably put that to break even now because the possibility of a possible running flat there. But if that is not a running flat because there was another pullback here, or there's a smaller contracting flat in there, then this is going to drop. Now, if you're not in that trade, there are two ways you can take it. One is you can either put an entry order here and live with that, put a stop here and live with that. The second one is wait for another flag. So on a 1 hour, if you're trading the 1 hour time frame, you put an entry under the low and you wait for it to drop. Now, what's the risk of that trade? The risk of that trade is it might drop and not go very far. So let's say you were selling this one. See it drop, it stay there for a while, you would be out of that trade. If you're selling this flag here, there's a small flag here. But if you're selling that, it's only to break this low and then you'll have to get hell out of it. So if it breaks the low tag, you start to pull back and stay there for long, you get out. If it goes back up, you have to get out of the trade before it gets to your stop loss. Now, if it drops, good for you. That's a trade you're looking for. What are the possibilities for it to drop? Really, really high. See? There's a good reason I think so. You see how deep this was, but then this still dropped. So this trade as a sell is a very good trade from where it is on the 1 hour time frame. In the 15, you would have to be in the trade already. If you want to wait for another flag, that is okay. That's a safe to trade. Let it break this low, let it make another flag, and then you get to the trade. But then you're late a little, right? You might be a little late because you don't know when and where you'll get another flag. And then if this moves quite a lot to get another flag, your stop will be big, your risk to reward will be less. So I'll put this as an aggressive sell for my traders. We'll talk about this in the trading room again. Gold is coming down and there was a flag there, I think, kind of a 15-minute flag. You could almost say that it's still possible that it's almost valid still. Plus minus, keep a stop above the top. And this is the first flag that you have that is less than half of the impulse as well, just like the thing. So that's a very good trade. On the 1 hour, that'd be a trade that is almost valid at the moment. The flag is pretty small in the 1 hour, but I think it's a good one. So this would be a sell setup too. I'll put them all as aggressive sell setup because we're just turning and we can't confirm that that turn is going to be the turn to the downside for the bigger move. It could be a deeper correction to go back up. We'll manage the trades as we go. Don't forget about this one. This is, you can put a sell setup here, but this is the gold loss. Euro is coming down, and I think we might be late for this because this moved quite a distance, couple pips already. So you probably, best thing is to wait for a next flag. You're probably gone already. Wait for a next flag. Let it come some more, make a next flag. Don't chase it, and then we'll get into the trade. So I'll take this out. We're looking for a flag to sell. What if they're going to turn that again? What if it stops here and start to go back up? That would be a different trade in the 15 minutes. You might even get a buy setup. What if this thing stop and start to go back up? Now, I don't think this is going to take off because I believe the correction is going to be different. But if it starts going back up, probably we'll do something like this, maybe drop again, do something like this, drop again, do this, and then we'll get a buy setup. Now, all of this will give you a break even or a small profit on the sell side of it. But don't try to sell it here for that because you have a disadvantage. Let it go there and then look for a better sell from the top coming down. So we'll see if we can get that. Now, can it drop? Oh, yes, it can. You'd be surprised that it can, and you wouldn't be able to get it. So we'll wait. We'll wait for the trade. Now, if you watch if you watch that webinar, you know what I think about euro and what I think about pound. So although pound is a sell, this is one you'll be very cautious on. Do we have a 15-minute flag there? Yeah, you do have a 15-minute flag. Now wait for a 1 hour flag. As a matter of fact, if this pulls back like this and drop, that would be a perfect sell. I believe we can get a 1 hour running flat here. There's a good chance for a 1 hour running flat here in one. But if we take the pound, we're always taking the pound as a possibility only for deeper correction, right? The pound might correct deep and long, even if everything else will drop. Because I don't see the pound going back. Or it could make a much deeper correction, but I don't see it going back to the low. You could make something like this. You might even make a much deeper one. We don't know that. We'll see how it goes. Look for, actually, this would be better if this pulls back for us. If it pulls back like this, and then start to drop. A running flat here would be a better pattern for us to trade rather than the 15-minute one. Aussie made a deep pullback here, so the best thing would be is to wait for it to go back up. Wait for this to go back up here and try to get the trade from here going down. Now, if this becomes a flat, which it starts to look like it can be, remember that flat at the top there in the dollar index and it dropped deeper? And that was a big daily flat. So the 15 minutes flat on the Aussie here dropping is not a problem. Although it's deep, right? Although that pullback is deep, I don't see a problem with them dropping from that point, right? So we'll see. Of course, you would want something like this, which is not so deep back in it. Let's see if we get a flat. If this pulls back, we'll sell it. So if it pulls back here, we'll try to get this sell. And when it breaks the low, we'll try to see if we can get it here to put it to break even in the 15 minutes. If not, let it drop. If you didn't get it, then let it drop, make the next flag, and then go. What if it stays here? Well, we'll buy it, of course. We'll wait for the buy setup, and we'll buy it. The buy setup is not going to be today. I don't think they're going to break and go today. Maybe they'll consolidate like this. Pull down the hole there 2 days like this, and then go back up. Let's see which one comes first. The bigger consolidation or the drop. I'm more inclined to believe we will get the downside. So if you start from where this started at the top, see, like this is how that flat is really way up at the top there in that impulse. That's a really small impulse, and you get a nice running flat here. As a matter of fact, expanding flat. And if you had an entry order here, they drop. This is a running one. If you had an entry order, they drop. This is another one. If you had an entry order, this would be a break-even trade, right? So you could have got these two and then get a break-even trade. That would be a buy. This would be a buy. I hope that is a break-even or a small loss. And then when you see this, you look for the sell. As a matter of fact, when you see this, I'll be thinking impulse correction sell. So I don't know if I'd buy that one. And the same process we're using here, right? So although it's deep, if it pulls back, we'll sell. Right? The pullback would give me a running flat, and that'd be a good sell. There's a reason why I think it could be a running flat as well. Maybe it's a contracting flat. Then we'll have to wait for another flag. So we're looking for a sell setup, wait for a pullback or a flag, and go with it. The same for the pound. It's all the same. Wait for a flag and then go with it. Wait for, I think this euro is supposed to wait for a flag. It's wait for a flag because we're not in the trade. Only those two you can be in the trade. And New Zealand. New Zealand pulled back pretty deep too. The same thing. I don't think that the deep pullback itself is a problem. We've had deep pullback. If you go to the very top again, you'll see there's a lot of deep pullback on the way down. The top is way here. Yep, see this top? Look at that deep pullback there. This was the top of it. This was your deep pullback, and then it dropped, and then it dropped, and then it keep going, right? So the deep pullback by themselves are not a problem, especially when you're in a big corrective structure. So now this had a really deep pullback here. It's very strong in that sense. I don't think, and this was not dropping. That's the next thing. So I think if this continues to do this, I wanted to break the low and then I wanted to pull back. That would be perfect for us if they do this, because now we get the trade we are looking for to the downside. So if this works its way down slowly here, break the low and then pull back, that would be a perfect setup for a sell. Now, can all of that be a deeper correction for upside? Again, I'll repeat, they can be like this and then go back up. Most likely, I think they're going to break the low this time. So we will see. Look for a sell setup. Swiss. Okay, this one already gone. There's a small flag there, but that took off already. So you'd have to wait for a 1 hour flag now. Wait for a 1 hour flag. If we get a 1 hour flag, we buy. This is a sharp impulse. If they're going to make a flat here, it will take a while. If they're making a flat for a sell, this will take a while, maybe a day or two. The impulse might get longer. And the reason the impulse might get longer, because even if you're just correcting this one, this impulse is enough. But if they go higher, then we're correcting this one, right? So they can do this, do this, do this. You know, you can be here for a while before you drop, or they literally go back and retest the top. Which of the two, we'll see when that comes, when the time comes. Wait for a 1 hour flag and then buy. So this would be wait for a buy setup. CAD would be wait for a buy setup. CAD actually doesn't have anything right now. It made a channel and it's breaking out of the channel. But you notice they came back to the low here. So CAD, I'll be a little more careful. Not just wait for a flag. Let me put it in 15 so you can see. Although they pull back deep here doesn't mean anything. They did pull back pretty deep and they're now going very impulsive. So this, although it's going up correctively, even if it comes here, we're going to retest this low, go back there. That would be more of a flat for a sell. So CAD, be careful. If CAD starts to make a flat here for a sell, we would relook at all the structures, because this might be the first one that has the perfect indication that they're going to drop, which means you'll be looking for some dollar weakness, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Yen, well, we'll definitely be looking for a lot of buy setups here, sell setups here. It doesn't matter. I don't see this going up. Even if everything else moves, yen could do the opposite. Yen doesn't necessarily have to follow right now. So we don't really have a setup as yet. You could make an argument of whether we have a running flat, but I think this, no, that's you can take the range here for my traders, take the range here and see if you can deal with that, right? Because this is going to come back, but it might not break the range unless we get running flat, right? It might just come here, go back up there and drop. But if we're thinking running flat with this one, it's not perfect. I don't like it. This flat is way out of range. So I don't think it's a perfect running flat. But if we're thinking running flat, that might be a good trade, right? If it stays within this here consolidation group, if it's going to go back up, if you get into this sell and it's trying to go back up, or when it breaks this low, try to get it to break even. So let's see if we can get into this sell early, right? If we get in the right time early enough to get in the trade so we can get break even, that'd be okay. Because I think they'll stay here longer if they're dropping, because the drop was huge. So they'll probably correct deeper if they're dropping, or they might stay at a flat note here longer. Let's see if you get in the sell a little too early, then we can still get hell out of it for a small loss or break even. But if this is going to, or wait for it to finish this, wait for it to drop, go back up and then go for the trade. Assuming that this will be somewhere in the future and it's not, it has nothing to do with this one. Right, so this one is a little, but if it makes a full flat, we're selling. Right, even if we think it's a running flat, let it break this low and pull back, and then we sell. So this one we'll not be doing anything. We'll be just watching that consolidation form, and then we'll decide. If this pulls deeper, you can ignore it. Trade something else. Pang Yen. Okay, this will definitely have to go back up, regardless of whether it's going to drop, which I think it could do, but they will have to give you this. This is really sharp, and you have a lot of corrections in here. So I think this at some point might drop one more, but we're going to get this. So if you're taking any trade under the low, any sell under the low, you have to take it with caution, because at any given time, this could happen and then drop. So you can take the trades, or if you have better yen sales, then don't take this one. Let this finish. It looks like a little running flat here to me. Right, so if this starts to go back up, we can consider whether we want to buy up to that level, make that flat and then drop. Swiss yen. Okay, this was the buy we were looking for. Take that off. You're probably out of that trade already. So let's see what it has. You made 1, 2, 3. You made 1, 2, 3. This will probably go back, retest the top. It's going to stay here for a while though. See, we're trying to make a move similar to this. So you can see the deep pullback here, the deep pullback here, right? There's a lot of deep pullback. I think we'll go back with the contracting flat there. And this will probably make a deep pullback somewhere here, then go to the top there, because this becomes the big flat in the middle. That was the forecast we had. It's going to make a big flat in the middle, and then it's going to, let's see if we're right about that. At least we're right so far with the big flat, because it broke the low and it pulled back. And now we're going to go there before we get this one. So let's see. At one point, this was looking like an amazing sell setup when it was here and it was dropping, right? And then that just changed totally. So now we're stuck in the middle of nowhere. Can we take a trade here? No, not a good idea selling that. That's making a flat here. Let it make this flat here and then we consider the buy. So take this off. Let's go to the New Zealand yen. Okay, this one didn't go. It went up, but it didn't drop from there. Can we use this one here? Yeah, why not? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go with an expanding flat. As of now, we will go with an expanding flat. We could make an assumption whether this was the top, right? Whether that was the top. The problem why I'm not using that as the top is because we need to break this top if we're going to start to drop. If we're finishing this move off totally, we need to break this top. If this is going to be the turn, unless we're sticking here for a longer time, then you can use that and assume they're going to still correct here. So what I'm going to go with is putting all of this here, looking at an expanding flat and expect this to go back to break the top. So we can look at it and see if it gives us the expanding flat, we'll get buy setups. Now, right now we know even if New Zealand is going to fall, then yen will have to go up quite a lot to make that happen. So can this go lower and we're stuck in a bigger sideways movement? Possible. We'll see. Let's see what this is doing. It has a small flag, but I don't think we want it. If you're going to sell it, you have to be very, very cautious. Has a nice small flag for a sell, see? And actually you do have a sharp move here. So this sell might be worth taking. Take it, put a stop above here and track it. As soon as it dropped like this, put it to break even, because it's not a fact that they'll go to that low. If they're trying to make a bigger flat here, right in this range, this is too sharp for that. So this would be the first impulse. So this sell might break that low again, and it's worth taking. For example, this one, say. It did break the low and it break it pretty sharp. So the sell here is not a bad idea. I'll put this in aggressive sell. Within the pattern, we'll figure out the bigger pattern afterwards. But we can go with an aggressive sell here in the CAD yen. Nope, you have a bigger sell, but not the aggressive sell. So this is a sharp wave we'll have to look for somewhere. I don't think we have it as yet. And we don't have it in the past. What's the bigger picture? Be careful, this could be a single drop. Okay, this is the big flat here. And we didn't break the top, but we came. So you could either look at it as 1, 2, 3 and up, or you can look at this. This is a three-wave structure within that one. Or you can look at this as a 1, 2, 3, and we go back up like this and still come back here. So if it goes up slow, we'll take this one. If it goes up fast, we'll assume that this is a 1, 2, 3-wave structure here. This was a sharp one, and we're going back up. So at this point, I'll be very, very careful of the sell, even if we get a sell setup. So we might be getting a sell setup, but I'll be really careful, because this here now will probably just drop here and go back up. See that? This was sharp, so it's going to drop here, go back up, do this, probably come back down, go there, break the low, and then go. So if we're going to sell it, we're going to sell it from the top here when we get flags from there. So take that off. Aussie yen. This one also, we're expecting to go up back. I mean, everything in the pattern says we have to go break that top, and they're going sideways. They're literally going sideways, but it can drop one more here. So this definitely looks like it can drop one more. You got that drop, this one make 1, 2, 3, you're getting a flag here. That means this can drop one more, maybe just break this low and then reverse. So I don't think this is a good sell idea. This one is almost at the bottom, but in New Zealand yen is at the top of the structure. So we're looking New Zealand and this is the bottom. So from here to the bottom, there's a lot of space. On the Aussie yen, well, we are already at the bottom. So, and the top is here. So your stop goes above the top, which isn't a good idea. So take that out. Euro yen. This one also, a lot of the yen pairs we're looking at as possibly that they will go up more, right? Can we take this as the top here? Let's put it like this. right? Like 1, 2, 3. This is the top. Let's assume that's the top for a second. It's a really big flat. Let's take this out. That's a really, really, really big flat, right? It's not a small one. Normally, you don't get such a big flat at the top there when they drop, but the dollar index had one and they drop, right? So this is a similar structure to what you have in the dollar index now. You got a sharp move here, and you get a 1, 2, 3, and you drop beyond the low. Dollar index is much lower, but you drop beyond it. So it would either go back up there or it starts to consolidate here, and then we can sell. So if we get consolidation, we'll take that as the top. We don't have to break this top, right? Remember the weekly or the daily, that top is not a must, right? You could break it, you could don't break it, it depends. On the bigger structure, it only depend whether we make a running flat or not. So can this drop from here, not breaking that top? Absolutely. Which means if we're going to go for sell setup in the end periods, this might be the perfect one. The higher risk one, but the perfect one. Why the higher risk? Well, because of this big flat at the top there. Right? We have to decide, is this the big flat that actually made 1, 2, 3? Can we look at it a little different? Can we look at this as 1, 2, 3? And if we look at that as the 1, 2, 3, if we look at that as 1, 2, 3, this didn't break the low, but you got a correction and you drop. So are we trying to make a 1, 2, 3 and go back up with this being a sharp one? Or are we trying to just make a deep pull back and drop? Anyhow you put this, or you put it like this, if you want to make a more complex B wave, good enough for me. We have a sell setup? I think we do. Here's the problem. They all have this sharp wave hanging over them there, right? See that sharp wave hanging there? We haven't dealt with that as yet. We got a 1, 2, 3 up. We got a 1, 2, 3 up. There's a nice flag here. There's another flag here. Sell this flag. We're looking at this wave down. Sell that flag here and see if we get that back to the top, right? This could be a flat of its own. So you get a drop, and then you go back up, make a flat, and then drop. That confirms a bigger run. So there's a short-term sell here, worth taking. An aggressive sell. I'll put the sell setup here. It's an aggressive sell. Watch it as it comes to the low. We can break the low. Right, there's a good chance. Well, unless this turns out to be, well, this is making a bigger flat, it goes back to the top there and then come here, well, then we're in a different pattern. Right, if this goes higher there and then decide to drop, don't sell it. Right, we'll look for the buy setup, and we might be going back all the way to the top, with this being the low of that structure. Now, let me take a minute here and pause. If you're not an Elliott wave or you're not a wave theory trader, you got confused to hell with what I just did. As a matter of fact, some of my traders already got confused with what I just explained. You just said we're looking for the sell. How the hell are we thinking about going up back? So I'm going to repeat that very slowly, step by step. Let's start on the weekly. On the weekly, it's possible they can retest that top. Break this top or break that top. That's possible, not necessary. I'm not going to explain that in detail. I'm just going to tell you it, because then I'll have to do the course with you here. Good. On the 4 hour, normally when you're dropping, you would get a sharp move, you get a small flat, and you will drop. That's a normal one. A sharp move, small flat, and you drop, right? I can go through that a minute. Sometimes you do get a big flat here, and you drop. But every time we see a big flat, we're making the assumption that you're doing this, and that you can go up. So we'll be looking at this to the downside. Do we have a buy setup or do we have a sell setup? Because that will depend on whether you're buying or selling in that range. And both of them are still pretty, risky. So you have to bear with that. So let's say you saw this buy here, you probably wouldn't take that because you're thinking within this sharp move, this wouldn't drop and break the low. And that's the right thought process. So if you skip that, no problem. But now that you've seen this and you have this and you have that, you're thinking, well, this has to come here. Because if we take this as the B part, then this has to drop here, go back up there. And if it goes back up there and start to drop, well, then bingo, we're totally downside. That confirms the downside. All good so far, right? Well, what if this doesn't drop? I'm telling you it's going to drop for a sell, but what if it doesn't drop for a sell? What if instead of dropping, it just works its way back to the top here? And if you're not a wave analysis trader, what you're going to say is, oh my God, he got it wrong. This wave analysis thing is not working. And at your level, that is correct. That's the only conclusion you can come to based on the knowledge you have. And my traders will look at that and say, oh, we have a running flat for the upside. And you would say, what the hell are they talking about? Well, what they're saying is that this happens we now have a running flat for the upside. And this upside can go, remember what I started in the weekly? It may and can go break the top. Not necessarily has to, but my trader immediately see a buy setup. Now that's called wave analysis for you. And that is why it's not so simple. And what I saw over the weekend, looking at a lot of these wave analysis people, is that they do this, and this is very tricky. And I'll show you in the dollar index, we'll come back to these. I'll show you what they did. And I'm thinking, it's right. It's right because I understood it. But if you are not a wave trader and somebody's explained to you, you wouldn't understand. So they all said, okay, this pullback, they all said this thing is going to make a correction and then drop. And that might be right on their next video. That might be absolutely correct. Here's a problem with that. If you're a trader watching that, what would you do with it? What would you do with the fact that this thing might make a correction like this and drop? You're going to sell it here? Where exactly you're going to sell it? You're going to sell it here, here, here. And what if it comes there? And what if it comes here? And what if it comes here? Can it still drop? Can it still drop? Can it still drop? And what if it's actually going up? How would you know it's going up? And not a single one of them actually give that explanation, the detailed explanation, what you should look for your sell setup. And they're not going to give you, because that is committing to something that based on knowledge. And it might go wrong, it might not go the way they expect, and some of them don't even know what they should expect themselves there. So they will just say, yeah, we'll go correction, like this one said, well, it went up, and then on this next video, it went down. And I'm like, okay, well, you're bullish, now you're bearish. So now he's saying he's going to do this and drop. And I'm like, well, no, it doesn't have to do that and drop. It could actually do this. Right? The difference is where do you see the turning point? And if you find the turning point, what do you do with it? How do you trade it? What's your risk management? What's the trade management? What's your, there's so much more to where you think that thing is turning. But if it does this and drop, he's going to show you that, you know, that was an amazing trade he got. The question is, did he and where and how? What are the rules of engagement of the trade? Like, where would you put the stop? Where would you put the entry? Well, what were you looking for to get into that trade? And if you got into it and it didn't go, let's say it stops here and it dropped like this. Would you sell it? Let's say it didn't make a flag and you sell it. And then it goes back up. Is he wrong? No, he's not wrong as yet, right? Because it could still do this a number of times and still drop. But you would be wrong. And then on the weekend, when you get the next weekly outlook, he would be correct. And that's amazing. That's an amazing trick you can do with people. You would be correct on this, but you would be wrong in the trade. And you would say, oh, well, I got it wrong. Well, you got it wrong because you don't know the rules of engagement. You don't understand what's the turning point. Analysis is just showing you a view of what I think could happen, not the details of the trade itself. And that is why joining a live trading room would save you that headache. Now, if they all offer live trading room, join it. Join any live trading room where you're going to actually see what is done with the trade. What are the rules of engagement and how they work? So I'm coming back to the euro and giving you all that detail so that you don't make the mistake of jumping in the trade if you don't know how to manage the trade. And my traders can sell this because they absolutely know step by step what are the rules. If it doesn't go, what the hell should I do? And if it's going, how would we know it's still going? So that's a trade setup. It's a sell, let's go, euros. Sometimes I might have done that myself, unconsciously, not knowing that you don't understand. But when I start looking at other videos, then I start thinking, oh, wait a second. I might have done that too, but that's not right because traders don't understand what to do with that. You would be right at the end of the week, but they will be wrong 3 times during that week. And that's a huge difference, right? So one of the things we'll be dealing with in this training course. So I think we're getting a flat here. You got a 1, you got a 2, you got a 3. This is going up, not as strong as I would like. They're making a flat here, but then they're going to go. And then we can look for the sell setup. Right, I think that is going to drop again. This is a pretty deep pullback. I have no idea what the heck they're going on with in here. There's something is happening in here, but we'll figure it out. And my thought process is they're doing 1, 2, 3. So they'll do 1, 2, 3. And we have seen them do this with a 1, 2, 3 here again. When we've seen that process, this is how I've seen it, like this. And then we get this again, right? Because this is not the most impulsive move down. We're still in a correction, but we're in a bigger correction. So we're making a bigger flat in the middle. From experience in the past, that's what happened most times when you get this. And you start to get these sharp waves. So there might be a trade here. We'll take it. We'll see if they repeat the same thing up, and then we'll get this, we'll figure out that they're making a three-wave up too. So look for a short-term sell. You don't have the sellers yet, wait for a sell setup. Euro in New Zealand, well, it did drop, and then it made a deep pullback, and then it dropped, and then it made a deep pullback. So let's go through all the pieces in the phase and see what we have. We have this, we have this, we have this. That's a flat. We got that, we got this, we got this, we got this. That's a flat, we got this. So why the hell is this not dropping? If that's a flat, why is this not dropping, right? So then we'll have to assume that, well, that is a flat, but that's not the flat we're doing. We have a more complex one. And the most complex one I can see is 1, 2, 3, that is this one. So we got this one, we got this one, we got this one, we got this one. This still has to go back up here, right? Because we have this, so it has to go back up there, give us this, and then we look for the sell setup. Shall we see this now? That's the ever-changing pattern, where what you had initially looks like a great one until it becomes more complex. So we're going to simply do this. We're going to pull this line here. We're going to let this go back to the top there, and then we're going to look for a sell setup. What if this is the drop? What if I'm wrong about that and this one is dropping? And somewhere in here, you're looking at a 1, 2, 3, and a 1, 2, 3, and this is all. And this is going to drop. And then it's pretty simple. Put an entry order for a sell here. If I'm wrong, you get the sell, right? Which means if this pattern, this piece in here is a small correction of its own, which it possibly can be, and this is a 1, 2, 3, and this is a 1, 2, 3, and this is a 1, 2, then this is going to drop. Stop above the top. If I'm right, they'll probably crawl themselves up here and we still get a sell. So put the entry order for a sell as an aggressive trade. And if it goes up, you wouldn't be in the trade. That's simple. If it drops, you'll be in the trade. Where we expect this to go, if it drops, well, first it has to break this low. That's the minimum. The minimum I think is going to happen is we're going to break this low. And then from there, we'll see where it takes off, right? We'll see this trade. So this trade is a really good trade. Put the entry order on. I mean, it's pretty safe in that, well, if this is it, that's your trade. If this is not it, it will go back to the top and not tag you. But once they come down here, then yeah, we're probably going down, and this was all your correction. I don't like this piece in here as a flat. That's why I'm looking at a bigger possibility, but that could be it. Euro Swiss. That was this sell here. Perfect. Worked out. Take off that trade. That's gone. We're going back up now, right? Let's see where we are in the bigger picture. Oh, yeah, we're correcting. Can we drop? What's the big picture in this? No, the big picture is a bigger correction because this is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up there. That's one big one. Now you're getting the deeper correction here. You're getting the deeper one. This can either correct here for a while more like this and then drop, or literally go back to the top. So let's look for buy setups. Even if it's a correction, we'll be good, right? Okay, we don't have anything here. We have a sharp wave to deal with. That is this one. I don't think we have anything for it. So this could go up sharp and drop again. Wait until you get a flag to buy. This could go sharp here up, drop again, but then when it breaks this low, you'll probably be looking for upside. It has to go back up. So don't try to sell this one. If it gets a flag here, we buy. Let's wait for a 1 hour confirm flag and then buy. EuroCAD. Okay, wait for another flag and buy. Oh, no, be careful. We're at the top. Sorry. We're at the top of this structure. And every time they make an impulse and break the top, they made an impulse, come back, break the top, come back, break the top. So yeah, they can still go a little more. But then we're either going to make a big flat like this, or we're going to totally drop. We have divergence. So the chances are we can totally drop. Look for sell setups. Even if they're going to go up, you will not get a sell setup. So take this down as a buy off. It can go up one more, but if you get a flag sell, wait for a flag sell. I'll put it wait for a flag sell. This buy was perfect. Wait for a flag now, sell. Euro Pound. Oh, we're selling this. Not as yet. We were taking this buy, right? That didn't go. It looked good for a sell, but then I just figured out we got this here. Well, let it crawl up, break the top, and then look for a sell. Put an entry order under the low if you want, just in case we got this wrong. Let's just assume for a second. I don't think it is, but assume for a second that this is a contracting flat in here. And that's the final impulse. So what we can do is put an entry here, because if this drop, it's going to drop big time. Don't put your entry over here because that's a small flat. That could be a 1, 2, 3 tag you here and go back up, put it under the low. See, you might be tempted to sell this, but this could just come here and go back up. Just enough to tag you and go back up. Once it break that top, we're looking for the sell setup. Can we buy this? Well, if it comes here and start to go back up, you got to buy to break the top. It will break the top, right? You see this one? That was a buy we took. We took it to come back to this top only. So if you close the trade here, you did well. I remember I said they can come back to there and then drop here. Well, they actually went higher and then dropped. So we got ourselves a running flat. I think that is going to go up. Keep a stop here if I'm wrong and they drop to the bottom. That's a good trade. I don't think they'll drop to the bottom, but we can put a sell there. It's most likely going to become a buy by the end of today. Pound New Zealand. It didn't actually go higher. I thought they'll go to that level and then come down. They just consolidate here and drop, and now they're consolidating again. So you'll get a sell set up here, but this would be a very short sell. It will be only to break this low. So you got 1, you got 2. So if you were following us last week, I told you we're expecting 1, 2, 3 and up, right? We're expecting 1, 2, 3, and then we should go up. And we were buying, and then it started to consolidate, and we said, okay, wait a second, they might repeat this, go there, and then come back, but they're dropping already. Be careful. I don't like the fact that they make a big flat there, which means it could go really, really slow. But you're trying to break this low. And once you break that low, it could go a little lower, but then you're going back up, right? This is the correction to this impulse. So you have a few sells, maybe 1 or 2 short sells, and then after that, you're going to be looking for the buy setup. Could it go back up from here? Well, it could, but I don't see them doing it. I see it most likely dropping. It's an aggressive sell if you put it. Keep a stop above this top. Aussie pound, same thing. This one actually tagged the top. We didn't sell it by there. We bought it here. I think some of my traders bought it here. We bought this. We closed the trade. We're trying to break the top. This is showing you breaking the top and go a little higher. Again, this one we thought would go higher. Thought this one would come here and then drop pretty much like this. And it dropped before that. That is okay. Nothing's wrong with that. It doesn't have to be equal. You're just going to pull these two here now and let this drop to this one, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let it drop here. Wait for this to pull back a little more. Take this straight down to the bottom here. Break this low. Actually, this is a good one because you'll have a good risk to reward trade. Your stop just have to be here. You'll get a trade from somewhere here and you're looking to break that low. What happens when we break that low? Let's see. Well, this seems impulsive. That seems corrective. We're probably going to go up. Can this actually go up higher and then come down in the bigger picture? It can, but I don't see this being the flat. I don't see this here being the flat, simply because this one is too sharp and this has a 3-way. So I think very unlikely. Right? Let's see. If this goes back up and start to drop, then you have a trade. So you literally want it to go back up, make a flat, and then you look for that trade. So we'll wait for that flag. Tonkat. Yep, we have a sharp move down, so we're going to anticipate another move down. This one is pretty sharp. This is going back there. So if you get another flag here, look for a trade back to this low. If you get a flag like that and you get a drop like that, that would be perfect. Right? That was a good one. A good flag, a good sell. Let's see if we get the same thing here. Now, this likely is going to go up one more. I think I can, either this was the flat and that was the top, or this is a bigger flat and it will make a new high. So the buy setup might not be a great idea, but if it makes a flag here, we'll go for that sell. If it goes up, we'll see if we get anything, or if we don't. If we not, we look for the sell from there. We're looking for this straight down back, complete the flat, and then up. This one is structurally a little different from what we have on the other ones, but same pattern of correction they're making. Right? So this one, we're waiting for a flag. Aussie, New Zealand. Look for a sell setup. Take this off. It started from here, but look for a sell setup. It's correcting. Can it go higher? Yeah, maybe, but if you get a flag here, sell it. So you're looking for a sell setup and a flag. Let's go with that. Aussie CAD. We're looking for a sell. This couldn't be flatter than that, right? This is a flat, right? Look at the depth of this thing. So Aussie New Zealand looks like a sell. Aussie CAD looks like a sell. I think the Aussie might be dropping, right? There's a good chance that can this go higher? Yes, it can go, but look at the depth of this pullback and this. Every time you've seen a flat like that, what did it do? I think we've seen flats even not so flat like that, and they drop, right? So when you see one like that, you're thinking, well, this will definitely drop. And let me see if I can find, I can't even find one as flat as that. Most of them are sharp. This is sharp. These are sharp running flats. This is sharp. This is sharp. All the corrections sharp. This is like about the flattest correction we have. Even this one is more sharp than this is with the depth of that pullback. So I don't see how this goes up and those don't, but that's happened sometimes. So wait for the setup. What that means wait for this to drop. It's coming down low. Don't buy the small one. Wait for it to make the flag, and then we go for this trade. So because it's coming down slow, you don't want to get involved with the smaller flags in there. Wait for that to stop, make the bigger flat, and then you sell. Wait for a flag. Could it be a buy? Well, it has to make a whole correction at the top there for buy. That is a longer process than the flag. Aussie Swiss. Okay. So this dropped already. Are we willing to go down? I don't like this deep pullback. Let's take this to be the top. Let's assume that is the top, because you had a flat here. This was a pretty deep pullback. Then they drop, and then they make another deep pullback, and now they're dropping. And well, unless this becomes a flag in this range here, we'll just leave it alone. If it becomes a flag, we can take that trade to break the low. Right, but if this goes back up deep there, then what we have is a big flat making here to go back up once more. So we'll just leave it alone, or we'll see if we get buy setups even. New Zealand Swiss. Okay, so we were looking for this move down only, which is the equivalent of this. And it went a little deeper. Yeah, it can go a little deeper. That's okay. Are we going back up? Let's see. Where I think this here was the top, right? We didn't break it. We might have tagged it, but I don't think if we break it, then we'll flip it like this, contracting flat. Right? If we broke that top, flip it to contracting flat and take this for the top, which makes more sense. So you can argue that you had a running flat here already, or you're making a running flat. No, I would probably put this as the running flat. Drop there. This is the low. If this stays as a flag, we buy. If it comes lower as a flat, wait for this, and we sell. Right? So you'll have to wait to see which one it becomes and then take the trade. New Zealand CAD. Look for a sell setup. Drop, 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 drop. This is probably either going to correct again. If we're going up, we'll probably make another correction like this and go, or we're dropping. Right? So remember when this sell happened at this point, we said they can either make a new high, which would be the buy setup. So now we look for a trade setup here. Again, I think I explained it, the risk in understanding the turning point and how you trade it, right? This might not necessarily be it, but if we get a setup, we'll take the trade. I want this to come a little more, make a sharp one like that, and then we're looking for a sell setup. If we're right about it, it will drop. If we're wrong, it's going to correct. We'll get it for break even. CAD Swiss. Okay, we were expecting this to go up a little more, at least for this one. It didn't go. That drop, you shouldn't be in any trade like that. Now we wanted it to drop at this level and go back up. And it broke that level. So here's the thing. We don't have, this pattern is as weird as you can imagine. You have one, you have two, and you can make an argument whether that is three. If that is three, we broke the low. So wait for a flat here and downside, or a reversal back to the top. Now, if we go back to the top, we'll still have to exclude a possible expanding flat, because this definitely might look like a correction more than the C wave. So could it possibly be 1, 2, 3? We go back to the top there and then drop? Very likely. So that sell there, if you were in it and you got out and you get back in and you got out and you got back and you did well. Now let's see if we can get a flag here for upside or a flat for downside. This will take a while, about 6-7 hours. So we'll just wait. I'll put it both sides and you wait for that. Natural gas. Take a break even. It didn't go anywhere. Put it like this. If they stay under this consolidation here, sell. I mean, under this, within this range, sorry, I should say within this range. If they stay within this range, we'll look for a sell setup. If this goes back up to the top, make a flag, we buy. But it has to go back up and make a flag. Don't buy the flag in here because you'll be in trouble. You'll be in trouble there. Okay, so we got a buy setup. We'll consider this a running flat. We did break the top, so if you get a flag here, that's a buy setup. Actually, you have a flag already. Put it as an aggressive buy. I think the same thing here. Go with an aggressive buy. So we can go take this out. These are the lows already. Put an aggressive buy there. What if they come deeper? What if this comes deeper to the bottom? Well, then it's making a more complex pattern. We'll take off the buys and we'll relook at it, right? For now, if it is stated, that's an aggressive buy. S&P 500, we go back. So pull this. This still looks corrective. In general, it still looks corrective, right? So either we have a contracting flat there, or we're going to make a running flat here, right? So this piece here, we're looking at it as a contracting flat, but can it be 1, 2, 3? Make this and then go back up like that. That would be possible. So if you start to see a sell set up there, consider a down move, right? Just at least for a running flat. We don't have a flag right now. Right now, it's just still at the top, not doing anything that is going to give you a trade. But if this here is a 1, 2, 3, then we're likely going to just keep going up, wait for a consolidation and go up. So take that off. This one is pretty flat, right? Although that move was sharp up, it's pretty flat. So I don't think that means market is going to take off like a rocket right now, because this looks like a flat, which means you can look for sell setup. There's a very high probability for this to go down. So go at the top there, wait for the sell setup, take the trade down. Either we're dropping to make a bigger flat go back up, or we'll drop through the bottom. You're starting. This is the only one that has an up structure in it, which means this can continue to go up. We'll see. It can also drop. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to go. If you imagine this is a running flat, let's take off the lines. Put this one here. If you imagine this more as a running flat rather than an up move, if you put this together here and you look at this as a possible running flat, then we can drop. This would be the first slow move down, and this can literally drop. Or you look at this as a correction and we are going up, right? Look at that whole thing as a correction. We're going up. So what you're going to do is wait to the top here. If they make a correction here for upside, we buy. If it drops and I wanted to, I wouldn't take the trade above the top here. I let it reverse this impulse, make flag here, and then we sell. That would confirm that we're literally going down, not going back up, right? So keep your eyes on this. Let's go. DAX. It's where we want it to be now, right? Finally, it's almost where we want it. So any sell setup, take the trade. Buys, you'll have to wait for a really deep pullback or a bigger correction here to buy. But any sell setup, go for the trade. So I'll just put wait for a flag to sell. Wait for a flag to sell. Right? It's the same one. Those who can trade it 30, those who can trade it 40. Nifty, wait for correction buy. Flags, correction, anything you want, what did you get buy? It made a deep pullback, so this could have been a buy setup here. You had a running flat there actually. That makes her a good buy here. Wait for another flag here, buy. This one you have to be somewhat long term because it's has a lot of pullback and it's a lot of gaps in it. Bitcoin came back to the low, so we're probably going to make lower low, which means this is going to go back up, but only for a flat. And then we're going to drop one more. Can go lower. Remember, the Bitcoin has a lot more to go. Zero is way down at the bottom, right? I'm not saying it's going to zero, but I'm telling you there's no limit to where it can go. Right there, and I'm already seeing a flat possibility here. So remember what we said when it does this, you want a flag and then you can wait for the break of the flag to buy if they're going. Well, guess what happened? It did this and it did this, and you don't have a flag. What you have is a flat. It's going to go back up one more. At some point, I think we're going to get a sharp move like this, make a running flat. So if you were in any way trapped in a buy there, that would be your exit strategy, right? So ETH, this is not at the bottom as yet. But if it goes there, the same thing will happen. So if you're looking for a buy here, you have to be above this top or above any one of this range. Now, if this goes back here, yeah, they can go and even retest that top. As of this point, yes, it can go. The lower it comes here, the less that possible, the more it's a flat. and one more down. But you're not in a trade, right? You shouldn't be because there was no trade set up. The flag never broke out. Same thing here. This one actually did retest the low, so this is going to be a running flat. Now, this had a sharp pullback here. See that one there? So we could either make an argument that that is the running flat and this could go up, or that we're going to come here only, make a running flat, drop one more, and then go. All right, there's no limit to where these things can drop and how long they can stay at the bottom. XRP, pretty much the same thing, right? So you had that sharp move, they pull back, they got this. Now, I don't think that's a running flat. It's possible. Then this will just make a low and you can go back up. Let's see if we're in the big picture, we can go back up or drop more. Well, in the big picture, you might be able to still drop more. There, you know, this is the low of that whole, whatever that is. And this down move had deep pullback. So there's a good chance that, you know, even if we're going low, let's assume that was a flat, this makes it low. It could go back up, but it's probably going to go slow. This would still be a flat pattern if that happens, even if you go back up to that top. But if you're in this range here, and that is just a sharp pullback that went with something else or something of its own, this could literally go back up here and then come here again, and then go. And it'll still go up. It's just a matter of which one is the upside. LTC, right now this looks pretty much the same thing. This one doesn't necessarily have to go down. It doesn't necessarily have to go up. It all depends on how we would look at the structure. I think this structure is complete as it stands for downside. So what I'm expecting this to do is to come lower, probably do this and drop again, making a flat here. Drop again, break this low, then go. So if you're in any trade here and it goes back up, that's your exit strategy. That's the point to put an insurer to sell. Dodge, about the same thing. This one actually complete. You already have a flat here. So this is likely going to go down. That's a flat there already. This is going to break the low. And then when we break that low, we'll consider, are we going back up or is it total downside? Yeah, is it going to go break the low now here, or is it just breaking this low and go back up? This move is getting sharp. So when we break this low, that's when you'll decide, is it going back up from here, or is it going to break this low, then go back up? So is this all your correction? Or is this going to be part of the correction too? So right now, I think the higher probabilities will go break the low. We'll break these lows and then turn. ADA coming down really sharp. So this has a 1, 2. So this is probably going to make a spike back there and then drop. We'll probably stay within this channel. All right, we'll stay within this channel. So I expect one more spike because we have this. And that one more spike might bring it back just about the top of the channel. All right, this here might bring it back just here and then still downside. Link. Downside, you're breaking out of the lows already, so pretty much I don't see them even going back up, which is strange. It should go back up, and I think it's going to go back up corrective. We are still in this range, right? We're not changing that range. I don't see this one breaking the low. It could be, but even if you break the low, you're going to go back up. So this one, you just have to wait to see whether it breaks the low or not. But if it turns, you're getting a move back to the top of that structure. MP. This is the one we were waiting to see whether we're going to have the buy set up if it made a flag, but instead of making a flag, they literally just never broke the top. They kind of did this, they pulled back there, but then they dropped. Maybe a contracting flat here is a good idea. Well, wait for the next impulse, wait for the next flag, we go for the trade, right? This one is pretty low. So wait for an impulse, wait for a flag, and then go for the trade. And this still dropping. Right, so you'd have to wait for this to stop drop at some point. We're expecting if that breakout, you go with it. It didn't break out. It actually came down. So wait for an impulse, wait for a flag, go for the trade again. Impulse, flag, then go. We're still going to get this. We still haven't got that as yet. So wherever this is going to stop, wait for the impulse, wait for the flag, take the trade. And this. Same here. This broke the low. Really nice, but you don't have a flag. Actually, you can put an entry order here, and if it breaks the low, take it off. Put an entry order above this top here. And if this breaks the low, take it off, because then you're going to make a flat only. But if it takes off from here, because we broke the low already, and that means it can go up, right? This broke the low. If it broke that low, it can go up. If you're buying it at the leverage and you got tagged and it pull back one more time, then that wouldn't kill you. You're at the bottom of an entirely big structure. So you don't have to really fear about it much. You just want to make sure you're not stuck with it for a long time. And this one here too, I don't see this totally dropping. It could. What if that is just a correction? And this is the impulse down to this slow. Then where would that take us? Well, take us back to this low, which means more downside, a lot more downside than this is possible. That pullback is pretty deep though. So keep an eye on it. If you get a flag here for upside, you can buy. But the sell setup, that depends on if you're trading short term. This will go lower. This one will definitely go lower. You'll probably get a pullback there and drop, and that is going to give you this trade. We're doing this here now, or we're totally dropping to break all the low. If we're doing that, we're going to come here and go back up. That is for this piece. Right? Get a complete flat and then drop. But if this piece has nothing to do with it, then this will just drop and break the low. Dash already broke the two lows we wanted to break. So let me go back. If you remember when I showed you this big chart, I said we really want them to break this low. We really want them to break that low because I'm looking at the possibility that this here is making the first impulse down. That is your correction or part of your correction. They're coming down here. They'll break that low. They'll either go back up there, make a flat here now, and then drop. Or this is all the correction, and we're going to go back up to that level. So any buy setup you start to get from there is back to this level. So I'm going to put that range there. I don't think you're going to take it as going back to the top yet. If you're lucky, yes, but I don't think it's going to go with that level. At first, you want to get back to the 500 level. So from here, it could go a little lower. It broke the low. That doesn't mean it's ending, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do this and drop one more. But then any impulse flag, not correction deep, but flag, take the trade to the upside. So let's see. There's a little more upside, there's a little more downside, and then they can all turn. And they can do a few of that more before they turn. Right? Something I was explaining already this morning on the silver and the gold. So, okay, guys, I'm going to leave you there. I think we've completed the webinar. This is going to be out. If you like what I do, share it. If you're watching it on YouTube, please share, like, follow. I'll see all of you. Thank you. Have a great day. Trade with care and have a nice week ahead of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.